This news immediately shook the army's timeline on various platforms. Not because of a scandal, not because of a new achievement, but because of a clarification that came out in the calmest way but hit the feelings the most. Jimin, who is known to rarely speak at length about sensitive issues, finally raised his voice about Jungkook. And who would have thought the clarification was not just a defense, but a portrait of relationships, wounds, and sincerity that the camera has not seen so far. Some time ago, Jungkook's name again became the subject of discussion among netizens. There are those who call it cold, there are those who consider that his attitude has changed, and there are even those who lightly label him arrogant just because of his facial expressions and his way of keeping his distance in public spaces. The accusations spread quickly, as if forgetting that behind his global superstar status, Jungkook is still a human being with emotions, fatigue, and a burden that not everyone can bear. In the midst of all that, Jimin finally spoke. In a moment that initially looked relaxed, Jimin delivered simple sentences that actually felt very heavy in meaning. He did not raise his tone, did not show anger, but every word he said was like slapping an assumption that had been developing. Jimin confirms that Jungkook is not a person who turns arrogant, but someone who is increasingly careful after going through many things that not everyone knows the story. Jimin told me that Jungkook is the type of person who carries everything alone. When the world sees him as the most shining figure on stage, behind the scenes Jungkook often chooses silence. Not because I don't care, but because I care too much. He thought about the impact of every word, every gesture, even every look. According to Jimin, Jungkook's attitude, which is now considered cold, was born from a sense of responsibility that was too big, both for the group, the army, and the people he loved. What makes this clarification so touching is the way Jimin speaks not as a groupmate, but rather as someone who really knows Jungkook from the most fragile point of view. Jimin recalls that Jungkook grew up under the spotlight from a very young age. He learns to mature faster than most people. As his peers enjoy adolescence, Jungkook has learned to restrain emotions, hide fatigue, and keep smiling for the sake of professionalism. Jimin also mentioned one thing that is rarely realized by the public. Jungkook often feels guilty when he can't meet everyone's expectations. He feels responsible even for things that are actually beyond his control. Reticence and keeping your distance is not a form of arrogance, but a defense mechanism. Jungkook's way of protecting himself from being crushed by the pressure that kept coming nonstop. The army's reaction to this clarification was overwhelming. Many admitted to crying, not because they were sad, but because they finally felt more understanding of Jungkook. Social media is filled with expressions of regret from fans who are aware of once demanding too much. Some claim that they have only now realized how heavy Jungkook's position is, which has always been placed as the center of attention, standard, and comparison. Jimin's clarification also opened the public's eyes to how deep the bond between BTS members is. It is not simply coworkers who are united by contract, but rather families who protect each other when one is attacked. Jimin is not trying to brush up on facts or cover up reality. He actually invites everyone to see Jungkook as a whole human being, with his advantages and fatigue. In the broader narrative, Jimin's statement feels like a subtle critique of the judgmental culture of the digital age. How can someone be branded arrogant just from a few seconds of video cut? How a tired expression can be mistaken for arrogance? Jimin seemed to remind that empathy is now a rarity, even among fans who claim to love their idols. Many ARMY considered this clarification as one of the most honest moments Jimin has ever delivered. Not dramatic, not sensational, but that's exactly what makes it feel real. His words were not made to go viral, but rather to straighten out and protect. And maybe that's why this clarification is so poignant, because it comes from the heart, not from a publication strategy. Jungkook himself didn't say much after the clarification came out, but precisely his silence is now understood in a different way. No longer considered cold, but as someone who is trying to survive. ARMY began replacing demands with prayer, criticism with support, and expectations with understanding. In the end, Jimin's clarification of Jungkook wasn't just a defense of one individual. It's a reminder to everyone that behind the stage lights, there are people who can be tired, hurt, and need to be understood. And for ARMY, This moment became a deep reflection of what it means to love idols not only when they smile and shine, but also when they are silent and choose to keep their distance. No exaggeration, if many say. The army must watch and hear this clarification, because that's where the lessons of empathy, friendship, and humanity lie. Jimin not only explained Jungkook, but also invited the world to pause, listen more deeply, and look with heart. The continuation of the clarification actually further shows the side that has been hidden from Jungkook's figure and why Jimin feels the need to speak out. In an atmosphere that felt intimate, Jimin added that Jungkook often chose to remain silent not because he didn't want to explain, but because he was afraid his words would be misinterpreted. He is used to enduring misunderstandings alone, hoping that time will straighten things out. But this time, according to Jimin, silence is not enough. Jimin reveals that there were many nights where Jungkook questioned himself. It's not about ability, it's not about popularity, it's about whether he's good enough as a human being. The pressure of being BTS's Jungkook makes him constantly feel like he has to be perfect. His every move seemed to be watched, judged, and compared. At that point, Jungkook's cautious attitude is often mistakenly read as emotional distancing. For Jimin, this was painful because he knew very well how sincere Jungkook was towards the people around him. He is a figure who silently pays attention to small details, who remembers the habits of the other members, who always asks the state of the people closest to him when the camera is off. But all of that is rarely seen in public, because Jungkook never feels the need to show it off. That Jimin's clarification also touched on Jungkook's changes with age and experience. He is no longer a teenager who is free to express without burden. Now, every smile has consequences. Every joke can be twisted. Jimin said that Jungkook learned from past mistakes, from criticism that was sometimes too harsh, to finally building a protective wall. It is the wall that some consider vanity. After Jimin's statement spread, the wave of ARMY reactions continued to flow. Many fans are resharing Jungkook's old moments, trying to look back with a new angle. The flat expression that was once criticized now looks like a face of fatigue. A blank look that used to be considered indifferent is now understood as someone who is processing too many things in his head, not a bit of guilt. ARMY admits that sometimes love turns into unconscious demands. That support can turn into pressure when expectations are put too high. Jimin's clarification seemed to be a big mirror that forced everyone to look in the mirror, asking if they had really supported or actually added to the burden. In a follow-up statement, Jimin did not ask for excessive defense for Jungkook. It's just asking for understanding. He called on the public to stop simplifying human beings into labels. According to him, Jungkook does not need to be pitied, but needs to be understood. It is a simple sentence, but it feels striking because it is rarely spoken directly.